Welcome to Royal Rebounds TV, your favorite Sacramento Kings YouTube channel. The Kings continue their crusade to get back to the playoffs. Next up is the Toronto Raptors. If you're a Kings fan, make sure you hit that like button down below and consider subscribing to the channel. So, Cal, another game coming up. We have plenty of games to go.
Yeah.
Kings are losing games, and it's really unfortunate. But next up is the Raptors. You have an update on their COVID outbreak that's going on?
You know, I actually don't. I should have looked at that, but let's try it. I'll try to pull something up here real quick.
While you're doing that, I will read your keys to the game. He's only got 2 of them tonight. As I mentioned earlier, they both revolve around defense.
That's right.
Number 1 is pick and roll defense. Number 2 is transition defense. The Kings have played absolutely zero defense in the past 2 games. I'm going to see how many times I can say defense in this segment. Defense, 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 defense. The Kings need to play some fucking defense. I want to see defense. You can't be giving up this many points. Thanks, Vinny. How can you win games when you're giving up 45 points in a quarter? It is absolutely outrageous. As we mentioned, the Kings are on a road trip right now. Tough back-to-back. Last night they lost. They traveled again to Cleveland. They lost tonight. They're probably on a plane right now to Toronto. They're going to have a little bit of time. You know, this game is not until Monday. So they have a little bit of time to prepare. Not a lot.
Yeah.
But you got an update for us?
Well, yeah. I mean, it doesn't look like they're missing that many guys. I'm looking at their box score here against the Knicks, and just about everybody that should play is playing. So I know their GM, Masai Ujiri, has COVID.
That's not going to help us.
But that's not going to help the Kings.
Maybe he's at home and Monty can call him about a Siakam trade or something like that.
I guess maybe something like that.
Also, I want to give you guys a quick update. The Rockets did lose tonight again. I kind of expected this point. And also the Warriors lost. Steph Curry did not break the record. I think he only had like 2 or 3 threes tonight. So live to die another day, as they say. So you wanna talk about your keys a little bit, elaborate for us?
Yeah, I mean, the Kings just have to get back to the drawing board here. It's nothing like groundbreaking, but pick and roll defense is tough because this is something that you actually need to work on in practice regularly. So it's not like they're going to have a huge chance to correct a lot of these issues just before this next game on Monday. However, you have to have a better game plan going in on how you're going to handle pick and rolls.
Yep.
The Kings, they just seem too indecisive a lot of times. One of the things I loved from the second unit today that helped get them back into the game was how aggressive they were on pick and rolls. They were pushing the guards away from the basket, trying to blitz and trap, and then rotating after that. I feel like that's how you have to handle this. And De'Aaron Fox, he just goes under the screen too many times for me. I don't see him try to fight over the screen enough. It's one thing if you get stuck on a really, really good screen and you're not able to fight your way over. But I feel like so much of what ruins the Kings defensively is they're not good enough initially on the pick and roll, and then from there you put your rotations in such a horrible spot. Even if you do rotate well, you're still going to be at a disadvantage. So they have to have a better game plan for how they're going to handle pick and rolls. And then transition defense is very simple. You just have to get back. I mean, I don't know how many times I saw tonight, there were just almost every player for the Kings was below the free throw line on the offensive side of the court. And the Cavs had 3 or 4 guys that were already at half court or farther. So sometimes it's tough. You miss a shot, they get a quick rebound and an outlet and they go. But transition defense is a matter of effort. It's a matter of spacing on the floor. It goes into how you run your offense. Mm-hmm. You know, if De'Aaron Fox is going to try to break people down off the dribble and get to the rim over and over again, especially in transition or when they first come across half court, there's no need for me to have 4 guys right around the basket.
Yeah.
So it's just basically what it is. comes down to is, again, effort, because that's what defense is. But it's also having a better game plan in general of how you're going to execute. You have to know what the other team likes to do, obviously, coming into any given matchup, and you have to know what your deficiencies are defensively. We know that the Kings are not good at closeouts, defending the three, and if you don't set yourself up off of a pick and roll, which pretty much every team in the NBA starts their offense out with a pick and roll. Mm-hmm. So if you already put yourself in a bad position there, then there's going to be wide open looks either from three or at the basket all night long.
Yeah, and Fred VanVleet has been letting it fly this season. Very, very impressed by his play. It looks like...
and don't forget, Gary Trent Jr. plays for the Raptors, and we all know how he loves to destroy the Kings.
And he was drafted by the Kings. Yeah. And then they traded him.
And he went 5 for 7 from 3 tonight, by the way.
Looks like Kem Birch is out. OG Anunoby is out.
Oh, yeah,
Precious Achiuwa is day-to-day. Right. And David Johnson is day-to-day. Wow, I didn't know David Johnson plays basketball. I used to have him on my fantasy team. Fantasy football.
I think he got sick of how bad the Texans were. He decided to cross over.
So the Raptors are 3-5 in their last 5 games, just like the Sacramento Kings. ESPN is predicting Toronto. They're giving them a 52.3% chance to win this game. I don't think the spread has come out at this point. But, you mentioned defense is very important. I'm also going to say the Kings need to play some offense in this game. They only scored 103 points tonight. I don't think their defense is good enough to hold a lot of teams under 100 points, so they need to score a little bit more as well.
Yeah. I mean, yes, I agree with that. The thing is, the Kings are one of the better scoring teams in the league, especially in the last week or so. They've been, scoring a ton of points. I think they're 4th or 5th in the league in points in the paint. Their offensive efficiency has been up over the past week or so. So today, they missed a ton of shots and they played a really good defensive team. But I don't ever go into a game saying, man, the Kings better score, 120 points tonight.
Yep.
It's how much are they going to give up? To me, the 110 to 113 point range is still a little high, but if they could just stay in that range, they'd have a good chance to win most nights.
Yeah, I agree. The Raptors are 12-14. Kings are 11-16 at this point. So it's pretty close. If the Kings could have won either this game or the last game, they could have won last night. They'd have a very, very similar record to the Raptors. We know the Raptors had a really, really slow start, not having Siakam available, and they've kind of picked it up as of late. Should be an interesting game for us Kings fans. Hopefully, it is the last game that Richaun Holmes misses, and hopefully he'll be ready to play against the Wizards on Wednesday or back at home against the Grizzlies on Friday. We're looking here at the schedule. Raptors, Wizards, Grizzlies, Spurs. Then you go Warriors, Clippers. I know they beat the Clippers twice last week. Not a lot of these games look like winnable games to me.
Yeah.
Any games you're circling on the calendar as a must-win, or are they all must-win at this point?
Oh, they're all must-wins. They're all must-wins. They have to be. Must-win is it's a very strong term. Obviously, it's not a must-win at this point. They're not going to be mathematically eliminated from the playoffs if they lose any of those games. But you have to, at some point, you have to start getting back on track here. They can't just stick around this 10 to 11 range for the entirety of the season. They're not a consistent enough team. I almost said they're not a good enough team, which may or may not be true, but they're not a consistent enough team to have to rely on a 3, 4, 5 game win streak in mid-March to get them into the play-in tournament.
Yeah,
right?
Or to get them close.
Yeah,
close
exactly.
to the play-in tournament. So for this Raptors game, what are you expecting as far as a starting lineup for the Kings? Because they seem to be all over the board here. I don't know if it was Marvin starting tonight just because of the size, or they're trying to give him a little bit more confidence. Obviously, he's been playing a ton more under Alvin Gentry.
I think it was probably a little of both. Certainly the reason that they went to Marvin was because of the stretch of games that he had in the past, but also because they knew they needed somebody with more size to go into this game.
So you think Terrence Davis is going to be back in the starting lineup? How are you feeling about that?
I think that Coach Gentry really likes Terrence Davis. So I certainly would not be surprised to see him start, especially because the Raptors guards, you know, particularly with Anunoby not being out there, are relatively small. So I would not be surprised to see Terrence Davis go back into the starting lineup. But the question for me, and I think for every Kings fan all season long, has been who is the starting power forward.
Yep.
You know, Harrison Barnes coming back healthy, we all expect him to start every night for the Kings, but he's been he's struggled a lot over these past few games.
Mr. Consistency has not been living up to his name.
Very consistent. So I'm not really sure who gets the start at the 3 and 4 for them.
Jug says starting lineup for defense should be Davion Mitchell, Doug Christie, Ron Artest, Chris Webber, and DeMarcus.
Oh, man.
That's one hell of a lineup.
That's one hell of a lineup. Davion Mitchell better work his ass off because he's playing with a lot of old people and injured people.
And DeMarcus Cousins is not the greatest defender either. You know, great player, but not known for his defense.
I'm assuming you're taking all of those guys in your prime. That would be a phenomenal lineup. But
yeah, yep. Even with the limited amount of action we've seen from Davion.
Yeah.
As far as the Raptors game goes, I'm going to throw something out here. I know that Monty watches this podcast regularly because he takes our opinions and our thoughts all the time.
Yes.
You and I talked about starting Metu. They started Metu. We talked about starting Bagley. Now they're starting Bagley. I want to see Terrence Davis and Marvin Bagley in the starting lineup on this game. I want to try Marvin at the 5. If you're really going to play small ball and you're going to...
Barnes will be your 4 then?
Yes.
Or? Okay.
If you're really going to play small ball and try and outrun all these teams and outscore these teams, I think you got to put Marvin at the 5. I saw a big block for him tonight. I know that's not something you can expect all the time, but I would love to see Bagley at the 5, Barnes at the 4, Terrence Davis, Haliburton, and Fox, and let them run. Let's unleash that 7 seconds or less offense that Alvin Gentry is known for. And let's just test it out for a game and see what happens.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I'm looking at who the Raptors started today against the Knicks. I'm assuming this game was today. Their front court is actually pretty big. Siakam, Chris Boucher, and Scotty Barnes.
Yep.
I don't know who Terrence Davis is guarding in that group.
You don't need to guard.
They
already can't guard.
Talked the whole show
they
about
already
defense,
can't
and
guard.
now you don't need to guard.
They already can't guard. Just score. Just score. Maybe you throw a defensive lineup out there when you need to, but I'm talking about getting a hot start to the game because you look at the past couple games, they got down early, and that's where it hurts them is because they're fighting an uphill battle the whole game. The starting lineup is much different than a finishing lineup. When you need defense on the court, maybe you bring some of those other guys in. But I just like to see this team get out to a hot start and play ahead for once. It feels like we haven't been ahead, and even though we were on a 3-game winning streak, it feels like we haven't been ahead for a while.
Yeah, that's true. They did not lead at all today. So
very, very rough game. All right, guys, we're going to wrap up the show here. Cal, anything else you want to say?
Shout out to Sacktown Breakdown. Thanks again for being available and coming on the show. We always love having you on. And shout out to all you guys in the chat. Everybody was really, really big in the chat today, and we really appreciate everyone who tunes in to this show. It makes, like Barry said, it makes it a lot easier for us to come on after a rough game and do this. So thank you.
Yeah, you guys are all awesome. We love all your support. Make sure you guys hit that like button down below. Hit that subscribe button. We will catch you all Monday evening after the Raptors game. We'll see if there's any big trades before then, maybe a win. Who knows? But we'll have a ton to talk about, and we'd love to see you all there. So have a good night. And in the meantime, go Kings.
Go Kings.